Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. Our dinners were easy to make, budget friendly, and delicious. So if you're looking for some weeknight meal ideas for your family, just keep watching. For dinner this first night, I'm making a chicken bacon ranch pizza. Now, I'm going to start out by making the pizza crust, and you can of course use store-bought if you'd prefer to do that. I've shared this once before on my channel, but it's been a while and I wanted to share it again. I first saw this recipe on, I don't know what her channel is called now, if it's something different, but it used to be called Caitlin's Kitchen. I'll have it linked down below. And this is really easy to do. So if you're like me and kind of intimidated by yeast doughs and baking, this is super easy. So I'm going to use my stand mixer. You could do this with a bowl and a hand mixer or just a bowl and your hands, but we're going to add some warm water to that bowl. Now, it's a pet peeve of mine personal when people say stuff like that when they're doing cooking videos, because I'm like, okay, what does warm mean? Because what's warm to me might be not warm to you. So I looked on Google, and for pizza crust yeasted doughs, you're looking for water to be about 110 degrees, maybe 115. If you go too much hotter than that, you risk killing the yeast. If you go colder than that, then, it might not activate. So you're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes until it gets foamy. And what that means is, if you see here, see how it doesn't just look like water anymore, how it looks like gray and muddy and you've got little bubbles. That's what you're looking for. And I forgot to mention this. I know I showed it, but I know sometimes people will listen to videos and not just watch them while they're doing other things. But I did add the yeast to the warm water so that then it could be foamy. Now, at this point, I'm adding in my flour as well as the olive oil. I'm then going to add the dough hook attachment to my mixer, lower that, and you want to start out on low speed so that you're not wearing the flour, and unless you like that look, and then hey, you're in your kitchen, you do you. But I'm going to start out on low and then move it to about medium heat, and you just want to mix this until the dough comes together. What I mean by that is the dough will come off the sides of the bowl and the bottom of the bowl. Now, once I start mixing this, I like to add in the salt at that point, and you just have to mix this. I think mine did for like maybe 4 or 5 minutes. It doesn't take very long at all. You can add a little bit of additional flour. I would say maybe a 1/4 cup at a time if it's too sticky for you. So like I said, once that's come off the bowl and the bottom of the bowl, then we are going to take the dough, remove it from the mixture, and as you can see, it's a little sticky. Now, you can put this into a separate bowl that has been oiled, but I didn't feel like dirtying another bowl, so I just moved the dough, added some oil. I'm going to add the dough back, flip the dough over so that it's got oil on both sides. We're going to cover this with a kitchen towel, and you want to put this in a warm place and let it rise for an hour. Now, my oven is preheating to 450 degrees. Once your dough has about doubled in size, see here, we are going to punch that down. This is a good place to let out some of your aggressions from the day. We're going to place that onto an oiled baking pan, or you can use a pizza pan, whatever you like. We're going to press the pizza out, and you want to make like a little ridge around the edge for the crust. Now, at this point, you can top this with whatever your heart desires. I had some leftovers in the fridge I needed to use up, so I'm going to do a chicken bacon ranch pizza. I've got some semi-homemade ranch dressing. This is just the Hidden Valley Ranch, mixed according to the package instructions. I'm going to spread that out and then add some leftover mozzarella cheese. Next, I'm adding some diced tomatoes. Next, I chopped up some bacon. I just cooked this up one morning for breakfast, had it left over. And then we had some of the leftover chicken that I made last week, the honey mustard Italian marinated chicken. So I just chopped that up. I'm going to add some chopped green onions, followed by shredded cheddar cheese. And then I'm going to place this into my preheated oven and bake it for about 15 to 20 minutes or so until the crust is golden brown and the cheese is all melted. Now, this is what it looks like at this point. Caitlin suggested, and in fact, in all of her videos when she would make pizza, no matter if she, homemade crust or what, she always suggested brushing a little butter on the outside of the crust. It just adds a little flavor and it makes the crust just a little more tender. But yeah, it's delicious. So here's the finished pizza, just sliced it up for us. And then we've got some veggies, and I did a little bit of ranch for me for dipping. For Gary, I used up some of the Marzetti blue cheese that we had, and this pizza was delicious. It was so good. Now this recipe is easily doubled if you want to make more than like a 14-inch pizza. And aside from like the hour that it, rested, which you don't really have to, do anything other than just let it rest, this pizza takes like maybe 5 minutes to put together. So it's super quick and easy. And like I said, if you are looking for a good pizza crust recipe, I would give this one a try. The next night we have my little brother over. So for the past 2 or 3 years or so, he and my husband have went to this like haunted house hayride kind of thing. They do like a haunted hayride, and there's zombies and paintball machines and all kinds of things, and they have a blast. So they went and did that, and then went to a little Halloween party, and then stopped at Waffle House for dinner. And they both had, I want to say, the Texas cheesesteak sandwiches. And then for me, I just door dashed in from one of our local restaurants. I did their crunchy shrimp roll, and then I got their salad with ginger dressing and an egg roll, and that was our dinner that night. The next night we had a Sunday family dinner at my mom and dad's house to celebrate 2 of my siblings' birthdays. So their birthdays are 3 days apart. They get a dinner on their actual birthday, and then we normally do a family dinner, where we celebrate both of their birthdays. So my sister let my little brother decide the menu, and it's kind of funny to me because he turned 15 this year, so he thinks he's grown. But he requested the same thing that he has requested several years, ever since he was a little boy, and that was chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese. But he eats more than chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese. For his actual birthday dinner, he chose cooked salmon and cooked tuna. So he likes more than that, but it's just kind of funny to me because it's like no matter how old we get, we still like things like chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese. So my dad ran to Wendy's and got some of their like family size chicken nuggets, and then we had barbecue sauce to go with that. My mom made some macaroni and cheese. My brother just likes the stuff from the box. She got the great value kind, she said, and it was delicious. It was really good. My mom also made a salad, so she's got lettuce, tomato, cucumber, radish, and then she chopped up some hard-boiled eggs, had some cooked and crumbled bacon, croutons. We had an assortment of salad dressings, and then she got just some store-bought macaroni salad. Now, for my little brother's birthday cake, he requested a Reese's cake, and so I believe this is what she told me, that she cooked a box cake mix, and then she poked holes in it. She melted some peanut butter, poured that over the cake, added some chocolate, no, not chocolate frosting. She added the chocolate shell covering that you get at the grocery store, and then chopped up some Reese peanut butter cups. Okay, it was rich, I'm not even gonna lie, but it was delicious. She did such a great job. She was so nervous about his cake, but it was delicious. And then for my sister, she requested a lemon pie, so I offered to make that. I didn't film me making it, but I'll put the recipe I used down in the description box below for you. It was really good. It wasn't, like sometimes with lemon pies, it can be a little too lemony, I feel like, but I felt like this one had a good lemon flavor. My sister loved it. She enjoyed it. So that was our dinner. It was delicious, and it was so good celebrating their birthdays. And one final mention, my mom also bought the Reese's ice cream, and it was really good. We all really enjoyed that. For dinner the next night, I forgot to get a picture, but we just had leftover pizza for our dinner, and that was it. The next day, my fall allergies were just acting a fool, and I was like, I don't feel like really cooking. So here's what we decided to make for dinner. For some reason, just like tuna casserole, something warm and comforting, sounded good to me. I had this box tuna helper in the pantry that really needed to be used up. If you've been with me for a while, you know there are a lot of things that Gary maybe doesn't love, but he'll eat it anyway. Tuna casserole in any shape, form, or fashion is a no-go from him. He does not like it at all. Will not eat it. And so we had one of these Totino's pizzas in the freezer that really needed to be used up, so I just baked it according to the package instructions. I did add a little bit of shredded mozzarella cheese to it, just because some of it had fallen off in the packaging. And then I added some frozen peas to my tuna helper the last couple minutes that it was cooking, and that was it. That was our dinner this night. For dinner the next night, I made shrimp tacos with a mango avocado salsa. I'm going to start out though by making the side dish. This was a new to me recipe. I'll of course have the recipe for the side dish and the shrimp tacos linked in the description box below for you. This is a sweet potato black bean salad. So here is what I'm going to use for the sweet potato portion. I've got some cubed sweet potatoes. You could of course use, just regular sweet potatoes, wash them, peel them, cut them into chunks yourself. I've got some olive oil, salt, and pepper. And then off camera, all I did was combine the sweet potatoes, the oil, the salt, and the pepper. And then you want to roast these up. Now, the recipe gives you instructions on how to do that in the oven. I cooked them in the air fryer just so I didn't have to heat up the oven. I cooked these at 400 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes just until they are fork tender. While the potatoes are cooking, we're going to mix up the salad dressing. Now, you can do this in a blender. I'm using this little Ninja smoothie maker. I'm going to add in my oil. Next, we're going to add in the mayonnaise. Now, the recipe does say that the mayonnaise is optional. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. But I had some of this lime mayonnaise on hand, so I'm just going to use that up. Next, I'm adding in some lime juice. Next is a polarizing ingredient. I'm going to add in some fresh cilantro. If you have the soap gene or you just don't want to use it, skip it, or I think parsley would be nice in this. Then we're going to add a little bit of maple syrup. You could also add in honey or agave if you prefer to use that. And then some minced garlic. I'm using the stuff from the jar. And then last but not least, we need some salt. So once I've added the salt and some pepper, I'm going to place the little lid on that and then just give that a buzz until everything is combined and that cilantro is chopped up. And that's it. The dressing's ready. In this bowl here, I added the sweet potatoes. I did allow them to just kind of cool slightly. Next, I'm adding in the corn and the black beans. These are canned. I rinsed and drained the black beans and then drained the corn. Next, I'm adding in some of the chopped red bell pepper. You could use whatever color of bell pepper you've got on hand. Now I'm adding some finely diced red onion. Now, normally we don't prefer raw onion and stuff like this, but here in the past couple months or so, I've been trying to remember to soak the red onion in some ice water for about 10 minutes before it just takes some of that bite away, and we've been enjoying it when I do that. I also put a little bit back there in that bowl for the mango salsa. So once I've added the red onion, I'm going to add the dressing that we made, and the recipe called for green onions, but I just was out of them this day. We're going to give that a good stir, give it a taste, and then you can add a little more salt or pepper, and that's it. It's ready to go. I had some shrimp that I'd bought on sale from Kroger, I don't know, a couple months or so ago, and I thawed it. I added it to this bowl, patted it dry, added a little bit of oil and just some taco seasoning, gave it a toss. Now, if you don't want to use shrimp or maybe you don't like it, you could really use, any kind of white fish. I think tilapia would be good in this, or you could also just do chicken. And so I'm going to cook this in the air fryer again, just keeping it simple. You could cook this on top of the stove. I air fried it at about 390 degrees for maybe just 4 or 5 minutes or so. Shrimp is so small, it doesn't take very long at all for it to cook. Now, I have shared these shrimp tacos before on my channel, so I'm just kind of briefly walking you through it tonight. I'll try to remember to link that full video down below in case you want to see step by step. Here's the mango salsa I made. It's just diced mangoes. You could of course use fresh. Mangoes aren't really in season right now, so I use just the little cups of mangoes. We've got some finely diced red onion, diced jalapeno. I did remove the seeds and membrane. I added some of the chopped up red bell pepper and then cubed a fresh ripe avocado. Added some fresh lime juice, just a tiny little drizzle of olive oil, salt and pepper, and that was it. Now for the tortillas, just use whatever kind you prefer, flour or corn. I've got these little carb balance fajita sized tortillas, so I'm going to warm those up on top of the stove just using a dry skillet. All right, the first picture is my plate. The second picture is Gary's plate. I just took the warmed up tortillas, added the shrimp, added some of that mango salsa, and then I forgot to mention this, but for the dressing for the sweet potatoes, I had a little bit of dressing left over, so I added just a tiny little bit of the adobo sauce from some chipotle peppers, mixed that up, and then I thought that would be a good drizzle on our shrimp tacos. So I added that, and then we've got the sweet potato black bean salad. The shrimp tacos and mango salsa, it's delicious. It's such a good combination. The sweet potato black bean salad, to be honest, I wasn't really sure if we would love it. It was delicious. It was so, so good. I will definitely make that again. Last but not least, I'm making pork chops with a Parmesan pine nut butter. Now, I have shared this before on my channel as well, but I think it's been a while. This is a Home Chef recipe. We got a box years ago, and I found the recipe online. We loved it. Gary he's not a huge fan of pork chops, but he loves these pork chops. So I will link that down in the description box below. And a quick disclaimer, I know I said this was a Home Chef recipe. Number one, not sponsored at all. And number two, please don't take this as me endorsing Home Chef or any of those boxes. I can give my opinion on those at some point if anybody cares. But yeah, I'm just because this is a Home Chef recipe, I am not endorsing those types of boxes. Just a quick disclaimer. Okay, that being said, let me show you how to make this. This was delicious. I'm going to get one of my sides started. I've got some halved Brussels sprouts on a baking sheet lined with aluminum foil. I did spray a little cooking spray on it. I'm going to drizzle a little olive oil on top of the sprouts. And then as far as seasonings go, use whatever seasonings you like. I'm going to keep it pretty simple and use this Kinder's blend. It's just salt, pepper, and garlic. And then I'm going to add just a little pinch of salt by itself. I'm going to give that a toss with my hands, and then I like to turn the Brussels sprouts so that the cut side is on the bottom of the pan. And then this is going to go into the oven. Now, what temperature I bake these really depends on if I'm making anything else. I started these out at 375 degrees, but I did raise the temperature to like 425 there at the end. Now, this is about halfway through the cooking process. I'm giving them a stir, and then I have some already cooked bacon that I'm going to add. Normally, when I make these, I'm using raw bacon, and so I will cut it up and add it to the Brussels sprouts at the beginning of cooking. But again, with this being already cooked, I didn't want the bacon to burn. So I'm going to add the bacon and then pop this back into the oven. And these Brussels sprouts, again, it really just depends on what temperature you cook them at. But they normally take maybe about, like, I'd say 15 to 20 minutes or so. You want to cook them until they're tender and they are brown and crispy to your liking. You can eat these how they are. They're delicious, but I like to add a little bit of balsamic vinegar and give them a toss and then allow them to sit in that vinegar just a couple minutes before serving. All right, now we're going to start out with the pork chops, and I'm going to start with the pine nut Parmesan brown butter sauce. I know that's a mouthful, but this is delicious. It's so good. Now, back a couple months or so ago, I was planning on making some homemade pesto, so I bought some pine nuts. I had them on hand, but if you don't want to use them, they can be a little on the pricey side. You can just skip the pine nut portion. So I'm going to add the pine nuts to a just dry pan and on medium heat. I'm going to cook these for about 3 to 4 minutes, stirring them frequently until the pine nuts get brown and toasty. At this point, I'm going to add in a couple tablespoons of butter and cook that. It just takes like maybe a minute or two, not very long at all, for the butter to get brown. So once I've got that, brown butter and pine nuts, I'm going to add that to some more butter. This is just softened butter. It's been out at room temperature. We are going to give that a stir. And as you can see, that hot brown butter kind of melts the room temperature butter. We're going to add in some pepper and then Parmesan cheese. I'm just using the stuff from the can. You could, of course, grate your own if you want to be fancy. And then that's it. You're going to give this a good stir and then allow this to sit out at room temperature. It will solidify back up and harden a little bit. So now it's time to cook the pork chops. I've got some oil on about medium-high heat. I seasoned both sides of the pork chops again with some of that Kinder's blend seasoning, and we're going to cook these for about 3 or 4 minutes on each side. You want to cook the pork chops until they are at least 145 degrees internal temperature, and then I do like to let these rest before I slice into them, so I just place them on a plate, cover them with aluminum foil, and let them sit for about 10 minutes. For the other sides, I made some roasted butternut squash with goat cheese and pomegranates, as well as a sweet potato cornbread with a molasses butter. How yummy did both of those recipes sound? I will be sharing how I make those in an upcoming Thanksgiving video, so keep an eye out for that if you'd like to see how I made this. So here is the plate. We've got some of the cornbread, the roasted butternut squash, the Brussels sprouts. To serve with the pork chop, just serve the pork chop and take a little spoonful of that Parmesan pine nut butter and put that on top. And Gary ate later than I did. I forgot to get a picture of his plate. It looks exactly the same as mine did, except just a little more of the portions. This dinner was delicious. It was so good, and it just screamed fall vibes, from the pork to the butternut squash and the pomegranates and the sweet potato cornbread, the molasses, the Brussels. I mean, it just screamed fall. It was delicious. All All right, that is it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. Maybe got some new dinner ideas to try from it. If you did like it, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.